So we're talking about the Beckers and how the girls would grab your missal, so that your daily missal, because that had the English.
They read that missal from toe to toe, you know.
Because then they could check their English
Help their English.
Uh-huh.
Because the Germans said when they got through high school, they could either go to work in the war industry, or continue their education. Well, they continued their education. Mr. Becker would come into this in the morning and greet you in English, and put these dried up vines in the pot-belly stove and light it off. He'd have a joke. They were always good jokes. And the day would continue. And of course, where their house was one of the highest points in Zellenberg. So the Germans had complete control, visibility.
Yeah.
They could see everything going around. So there was no activity toward their church. They never touched it because they didn't want them to have a reason to
come in
apart.
Yeah.
It looked like it'd probably be a beautiful house, church. And of course, there were 200 people whose houses were such that the Germans could see any activity, so they lived in the basement of this winery.
So that they wouldn't like draw fire.
That's right.
And
Mr. Becker was telling about the Germans had several regulations. One is maybe reasonable. One was unreasonable. That they were forbidden to speak French outside of their houses. And the other one was people bicycling had to go tandem rather than side by side, and there's some reason for that. If they're going side by side, it's going to inhibit their travel some. So anyway, that's the way it's said. Came down to Christmas time. On Christmas Eve, there's 200 that were living in the basement, went up into the press room, which is on the beautiful spotless store, all copper kettles and so forth for making wine. And we were singing the Christmas carols in English, and they were singing them in German. And I remember this one guy, he had a beautiful baritone voice, and he had tears running down his eyes while he was singing the carol.
Yeah, but they were singing them in French, right? French?
They sang them in English.
In English? You guys sang them in English.
They're in German or French.
Okay, French and English.
Yeah, and that was.
I wonder what the name of the church is in Zellenberg.
I'm not sure.
It'd be interesting. We could probably find it out. First time I looked up Zellenberg, I tried to find something about Zellenberg at the public library years ago. That's how I found that picture of Zellenberg that I had printed. It's like, you can see where it was like half a page and then another half of a page, and you can see the church up at the corner, and it was all these vines, these grapevines in Zellenberg. So, but I kept looking for Zellenberg in Germany, because that sounds German, Zellenberg. Doesn't that sound German? But it was Zellenberg, France.
Well, yeah.
It's
my communications sergeant was talking to this, before we got to the Becker place. We first got into the deal, and he was talking to this woman, and she said, "Oh, he asked her, what is an Alsatian?" And her answer was, "Well, when the Germans come, the French go back to France, but the Alsatians stay here. When the French come, the Germans go back to Germany, and the Alsatians stay here." They were nice people.
Yeah.
No, Mrs. Becker and her daughter were cooking for 200 people all through that time. And I'm not sure she had pain. I noticed her legs were swollen, so she was probably in need of. And of course, they had a son, Jay Becker. I don't know what it is, Jay. Anyway, they come up from the side, Christmas Eve, and St. Christmas Carol. They were singing them in German or French, and we were singing them in English.
You said that they had a son.
Yeah,
and
Jay
now,
Becker and son.
did he have to fight, or?
Here's a history on him. When he came up for conscription, he'd go down for physical to go active duty, and he'd have heart problem. They had a doctor, well, one of the girls was engaged to, and he gave him something that would create a heart problem. And then they got to where finally they said, "I don't care what because you're going into the army."
Because were they getting short on soldiers? Do you think, or?
Yeah, well, that also the political thing.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
And the girls, I had my missile and so forth. Well, they read that missile from the head. Yeah, there.
Well, that's really seemed like
it was tough. You know, we were in this up in their press room, which is on the ground floor at night. Beautiful house, and the kettles and so forth with brass or copper, shined up real good.
You said that one time that Mrs. Becker, you had your really bad fighting, like when you got your Silver Cross, and that you came back and you were really wiped out and very fragile.
That's when she said that I was asleep on their sofa. They had them all covered up. But I was asleep on the sofa, and nobody was to bother me. Well, that's when I had about 3 or 4 hours of sleep in about 3-4 days.
Oh.
You know, but when you have to, that sleepiness goes away.
Yeah. I'm going to get a glass of wine. That's what started this conversation. So I'll turn this off for a second.
Okay.